So we're here with Mike Fox, who is running for his incumbent seat on the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District School Board. And Mr. Fox, you've been on the school board for about 9 years. So...
Is it? I thought it was like 7.
Yeah, I think it's been 9.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't keep track.
So thank you for all your service all these years to the community. So I'll ask you, first question here, what is your primary reason for running again for school board?
So first I'm going to say, if you don't mind, I didn't realize it'd be video, which is fine. So I looked, normally I would clean up a little bit.
It's fine.
I'm working at home like many people are.
It's fine.
So I don't need to do all that. Anyhow, so you're asking why am I running again for the school board?
Right.
And for, I guess, certainly after doing it for 7 or 8 years, I mean, it's a big commitment, and at some point, another 4 years, I will retire. The reason I'm doing it one more time is maybe, is to try to see us through some of the present difficulties, and to bring that stability to the board during these present difficulties, which are, the COVID thing, of course. But even beyond that, we've got a tough road ahead in the next few years because of declining enrollment, which I don't think is necessarily because people are choosing to send their kids other places. In the past, not having a nice high school was certainly a contributor to that, but I think now it's just fundamentals of the aging of our community. It's a great place to live. People come here, they raise their kids grow up, but they don't necessarily sell their houses. My street's a perfect example. And until some more houses get built and new families move in, I think we're going to continue to see some declining enrollment. And other communities, beach communities, are notorious for that for the same reason.
Right.
So there's some difficulties coming up with that, and I figured I'd go one more term to serve my community and help see things.
Okay.
Which is not to say that the people running against me wouldn't do a fine job as well.
Okay. You've accomplished quite a bit throughout your years on the school board. What are some of the things that you're most proud of, you think?
Well, I'm the only sitting board member left that saw the Great Recession. And so for me, and that left a lasting impact. One of the first things that I had to do on the board was we had a huge reduction in force and really good teachers. I think it was like 12 or 13 teachers, which for a district this size was a lot. That was back a ways. So what I'm most proud of is getting to a point of fiscal stability so that we hopefully will never have to do that again. Obviously, building Vasquez High School, I wasn't part of the wonderful people who got the bond through, but once the bond was through, I was, right from the get-go, part of the team that helped get both phases of the high school built. So I'm proud of that. Third thing is, although we often, over the last few years, have talked a lot about the high school, but we've done a lot more than just the high school. There's been a lot of deferred maintenance that we've caught up on. And anybody who's had children over the last 6 years and seen High Desert, the gym when the tiles were falling down in the locker rooms, that's all 3 or 4 years ago, but still, it's during my tenure. We were able to really clean up that school. The paint job, the gym, the locker rooms, the grass. Shade will be coming in when the solar panels go in. So that's a lot of deferred maintenance, and that school in particular really needed it. Acton School, while it's not open for students, it's almost ready, with the cleaning up of the DSA findings. So fiscal stabilization was the number one thing. I'm proud of what the board did. Building Vasquez and getting it so kids can attend. The deferred maintenance, and then we shouldn't forget that in there we did do quite a bit of STEAM work up especially at the junior high. We added the robotics class a few years ago, and there's a handful. So we did add offerings up at the junior high classroom offerings and the sports programs, which the board did very little. We helped enable, but that's been grassroots from the parents and the staff up at the junior high. But it's a great trend to see the sports programs, coming into play there,
Right.
because it plays hand in hand with Vasquez, and I think that kids who are proud of their school tend to do better at school, and sports programs help kids be proud of their school.
Mm-hmm. It's
So-
a big motivator.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that too.
Okay. What have you tried to implement or change but haven't been able to do so for whatever reason? Or
No, I would love to see Vasquez High School finished.
okay,
I know it's just the tennis courts, but
Right.
it's a big patch of dirt.
yeah,
And the reality of the situation, and even though we may think, oh, there's not that many people who at high school now who would use them,
yeah,
it's not about now, it's about the future. And there are no other tennis courts. We have all this lovely facility at the park. There's no tennis courts in town. You got to go 15 miles in either direction. And that's why they were part of that project. And like many of our school facilities, we make them available to the public. Desert Wing Soccer for many years used the soccer fields.
right,
Churches use the MPRs. And so if we were to be able to finish that school and get rid of the dirt patch before it turns to weeds and have the tennis courts, there could be community tennis. And we do have an active adult community tennis program in town.
oh, okay,
It's at somebody's private house, but imagine what it could be if there was facilities.
right,
So, it's on the book, it's on the plans. I'm disappointed that we couldn't stretch the money. We stretched it farther than we thought it would ever go. Phase 2. But I wish we could have stretched it farther. And, windfall somehow falls out of the sky. I would like to see it finished just so that the school could be finished in football plan. Because the longer it goes, the less likely it is that this board will finish.
right,
And so I'd just like to see that finished. The other thing that I'd like to see more of is, in the past few years we have increased salaries some. I'd like us to be able to do more of that. There your hands are tied though, of course, by enrollment and state funding formulas.
right,
And on both those counts, we're the disadvantaged districts around us, and so our teachers, I kind of make a little bit of a choice. Do I want that wonderful atmosphere that I think our schools do provide, smaller classes, maybe some of the less, urban problems.
right,
But on the other hand, they get paid less. Or
Right.
their benefits are less, or one way or another. And so I'd like us to be able to close that gap more. But like I said, that's up to funding formulas. We get less per kid than other districts just because of the makeup of our district.
right,
Ethnically and financially and linguistically, that's just a fact.
right.
So to me, that's kind of unfinished business. But I don't know for how long that will stay unfinished. Me or any other.
Okay. And I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with the question, what's been the greatest challenge so far? Has that been a challenge?
Well, obviously, if we're looking straight in just the last year, the COVID thing's been an incredible challenge.
Right,
But that has certainly, I would say, aside from that, being able to provide competitive salaries, which leads to stability, which everybody asks, why are we stable? Why do people come and go? Well, a lot of that is because certainly we have had a history of training principals, for example.
Right.
I hope we're done with that. Train them and then they go someplace else.
right,
But even to some extent, that happens with some teachers as well, because of maybe financial. So that's certainly been a challenge. And so you're balancing offerings with salaries, really, because the more offerings you have, you tend to have smaller classes. classes, you can't pay each teacher as much because you need more teachers.
Right.
And so that's what we always, that's the trade-off we're always negotiating.
Okay. And do you feel that public opinion has been fair to the board thus far?
For
Or?
the most part, I think
Okay.
the public's, I mean, you know, so I'll be honest, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook and social media. I'll be right out there. I know lots of people that do, but for me, I'm on a computer all day. The last thing I want to do is be on a computer some more.
Right.
And also, I think sometimes in that venue, I mean, if somebody's got a problem with what I am or am not doing in my, civic service, I'd rather discuss it personally than a bunch of interchanges. So I don't do the social media thing. So your questions, but so I think, because I don't see all that and I don't know what's out there, based on the board meetings and my interactions with people one-on-one, I think the public's very supportive.
Oh, good.
I mean, I really do. I mean, you're never going to please all the people all the time.
Right.
There are legitimate things and concerns people have, but all in all, I think we have good support for our schools, certainly of the people who send their kids to them. And you see that with the parent involvement, and our sports programs are very much parent-driven. For example,
Yeah.
parents often are coaches,
Yeah.
because the stipends are so tiny. People aren't doing it for the money; they're doing it
For the kids.
for the kids. So, yeah, I have no problem with, in general, public treatment.
Okay. What are some improvements for the future that you foresee with the district?
So, to the extent we can, I would like to work on compensation. To the extent we can, but you can't make any kind of promise along those lines because it really all has to do with enrollment and state funding.
Right.
But that'd be an area I'd like to work at so that, like I said, to help us attract talent and keep talent.
Right.
And then in the future, it'd be nice to look at more variety of programs. But again, I'm not going to make some kind of promise that we have that tool in our toolbox because that takes money, and then that, like I said earlier, that means there's fewer kids doing any single thing, which spreads those resources farther. So you really have to make sure that you're getting the most bang for the buck,
Right.
and improve those programs. But there are opportunities like the programming for the sports at the junior high that doesn't cost us anything, relatively speaking.
Right.
And we have some awesome programs at the junior high, and I hope that we see more of them. We had the dancing feet, which was rather new, that it augmented the bells, which is historic.
Right.
And the Medal of Honor now that's been going for
Oh, yeah.
many years.
That's
These
really
are all-
neat.
Yeah, so to the extent that there's these things that can be impactful but not cost a lot of money, that's what we should be trying to foster.
And so I wanted to thank you again for all your years on the board and serving the community. Of course, a truck goes by. And serving the community, and also you're involved in your church and you're a scoutmaster, so you really put a lot of time into your community. So that's really neat to see.
That's because I love it.
Is there anything that you'd like to say as we wrap up? Any kind of statement or anything you want to say to the community about yourself or anything at all?
Well, I mean, I'll read this one.
Okay.
Most people know I try not to be too long into the board because, I started on the board really just out of a desire to help. I didn't. If anybody cares to go back, however many years you said it is, 9 years,
I think so, yeah.
and look at the transcripts, I didn't come with an agenda. My agenda was just to help. And the first thing you do when you help is you spend a year or two sitting and listening and learning, and I did that. And now I can lead on the board because I have that behind me. But that really was my objective and continues to be my objective. Can I help? And I never thought that everybody will agree with everything decision I've ever made. I mean, I've been there when people disagree with the decisions I made, and that's okay. I hope they just look at, you know, what I've done in balance, and I consider myself a thoughtful public servant. And if in balance, you know, you think that I've been thoughtful, you know, return me to the board and I'll help some more. If not, that's okay. I don't mind retiring either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
both work for me.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.